Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Adam Interviews. Today's guest, probably listening very closely to that opening music because that is kind of what he does. He is a composer and has worked on all sorts of products, from commercials to TV shows to movies to what have you. And one of his most important roles and titles here with us, by the way, his name's Mark Waters. He is the director of the Beale Institute over at the Eastman School of Music. Thank you so much, Mark, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, first of all, before we get into everything else, I just want to note that the Emmys were last night. You have won 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, 6.
6?
Yes.
Well, there you go. I'm sorry to take one away from you.
That's all right. That's all right.
So, any thoughts on just the Emmys? Did you watch? Any thoughts as you saw the winners?
I thought it was a great show. I've attended the Primetime Awards several times because I served on the Board of Governors, and normally music is one of those craft areas that they put on what they call the Creative Arts Awards, and they're not the Primetime Emmy Awards. They're the award show that nobody ever sees. But the primetime show is exciting to go to if you're on the Board of Governors because, it's produced so well. And I thought it went really well. There was no controversy, which is something you always try to avoid when you're in a producer's role. But I was happy for the winners. The show that I was really rooting for, the studio did real well, Seth Rogen's show. So, yeah, I thought it was really good.
Why were you rooting for the studio?
I just think it's fun for the industry to look back at itself and kind of make fun of it, which I think this show does. It pokes fun at all the isms that the industry is known for, both good and bad, and nobody better to do that than Seth Rogen. I mean, it was just a hilarious romp.
So you've done scores, by the way, for various TV shows. Does that make it harder for you to watch TV or movies because you pay so close attention to the music?
I try not to the first time I'm watching something. Sometimes I can't help it, but usually the first time I'm watching something, I can put it where it's supposed to be, just, in the background, subliminally affecting me.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the big questions is, in a way, are you supposed to, as the audience, not hear the music? Where does that stand?
No, you're not supposed to. I mean, obviously, if it's a big chase or the main title of something, some big heroic moment that we love the music of John Williams so much for. But really, the best compliment a composer can get is like, wow, I didn't even know there was music there, but I love the show. So great, I did my job.
Yeah, it is interesting. I happen to love music composition for movies in particular. And I sometimes step back and think, what an interesting concept that this is kind of built in to almost every movie we watch. Does that go back to the silent movie days?
It does. It does. There's a great history. I won't bore you with it now, but there's a great history of music in the so-called silent era because it wasn't silent. It had music playing. And ironically, that is what was the impetus for George Eastman to build the Kodak Theater, was to provide a venue for live music to accompany silent movies. And he was a big proponent of that. And it's so great now to see it being done again, accompanying full-length movies live to picture.
It is interesting that when they did finally get the audio built into the movies, the music was still there.
That was a big change technology-wise in 1927 when the Vitaphone came about, and they were able to sync both dialogue and music to a moving picture. And it was very primitive, but technology has a way of improving itself every time around. So it was a big thing, and I don't think anybody thought it would happen, but it created an art form of music for movies, and the artists that were attracted to it because the studios wanted to bring in really well-trained, exciting composers who were, great composers on their own right. And this new idiom of film provided them with a great outlet to explore their talents.
Yeah, it has become an industry in and of itself, and that's partly why you're co-directing an incredibly innovative festival called Soundtracks, which is going to highlight and promote this very art.
We are so excited about it, and it's been in the works for several years. I always thought that Rochester would be the perfect size city to do it. If you did something like this in LA or New York, it would just get lost as, just another film music event or something. But Rochester does festivals really well. I love the way when the winter breaks and the spring starts, there's a festival or two or three every weekend, all the way through the fall. And my producing partner, Mark Bacco, from the University of Rochester, we thought this would be the perfect city to host this, because there's a following for it. There's a history of it, with what I was saying about George Eastman's theater. So, we started the ball rolling, and it's really picked up speed. There's been a great amount of enthusiasm for it. Very, very grateful to the Eastman School of Music for, kind of adopting us and helping us produce it. So I think it's going to be a huge success.
I do too. It's going to be in the middle of October. I believe it starts October 16th or so. And what type of seminars, classes, productions can people expect?
Well, we've built it around that's 3 days of 3 evening concerts. Those are our pillars. We're kind of built everything around that. The first night is Terence Blanchard, a Grammy Award-winning jazz trumpeter, 2-time Oscar-nominated composer, mainly known for his scores to the Spike Lee movies. The second night, we're doing a rare live-to-picture performance of The Red Violin, which won the Oscar for Best Score, I believe in 1998, written by a Pulitzer Prize-winning composer named John Crigliano. Brilliant score. Will feature, just his incredible music. The last night then will feature the Rochester Philharmonic in a live-to-picture performance of the final Harry Potter movie, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 2. Very exciting score by a brilliant composer named Alexandre Desplat. Then during the day, we have a variety of panels, discussions, and concerts. We have a wonderful John Williams concert featuring a chamber ensemble, which is a rare opportunity to hear John's music played with a smaller group, cello, piano, and flute, called John Williams Reimagined. Fabulous musicians. And then on the Friday, we have an organist coming from England, Roger Sayer, who's going to perform the music from Interstellar, great Hans Zimmer score, which featured Roger as the organist in the movie. And so he's doing it live in a cathedral very near Eastman, because Eastman doesn't have the organ. We are taking the concert to the cathedral where the organ is, the Third Presbyterian Church. It's going to be very exciting. So in between that, then we're doing discussions and panels, and we wanted to emphasize it's not classes, it's not educational. It will be fun. This is really geared for fans to kind of pull back the curtain and show people kind of how the sausage is made, so to speak. And we've brought in composers, orchestrators, arrangers, technicians, just to show, how all of this comes about. And we were very fortunate to get some very prominent names. We've got Carter Burwell, who is known for the Coen Brothers movies. He's done all of them. 3-time Oscar-nominated composer, wonderful fellow, and a great raconteur. I love, to hear him talk about his music. We're exploring video game music. We're bringing in 3 A-list stars of the video game world to talk about their games and their experiences and their scores and the unique differences that go into producing music for a video game as opposed to a television show or a movie. And I'm going to be talking about animation with a former Disney executive, music executive. We'll be discussing, the process of what makes animation music different from other mediums. We're bringing in a brilliant orchestrator named Conrad Pope, who it's just worked out this way that the Harry Potter movie was orchestrated by this man, Conrad Pope, and he'll be talking about it right before the concert on Saturday. We were very fortunate to get Conrad. He's very, very busy. He orchestrates for everybody, so it was a real coup that we got him committed.
That is, I mean, that lineup it's really hard to believe, and it's coming out of nowhere. It's not like this is an annual thing. So,
right.
My hat goes off to you and the whole crew for scoring these people, no pun intended.
Thank you.
So the Harry Potter one is interesting. I think I'm going to have to bring my son to that. We took him to the Avatar event at Kodak Center last year, and they basically had a mini orchestra come in, and they did a summary of the show. They kind of did of the 2 seasons or whatever, it was 3 seasons. They put it to music, and it was so emotional. And I didn't even watch it. And he and the entire audience was so drawn. And to me, that was an eye-opening moment where I saw the power of the music.
Well, music heard live is always more exciting than hearing it recorded, because you not only hear it, you see it. And watching the musicians, play all the details and all the work that goes into preparing a production like this to do. And the Harry Potters are beautifully produced. I mean, the scores are recreated exactly the way they were in the movies. There's great care to it. The conductors are hand chosen to be experienced to be able to do this type of music. And I think it's worth noting that orchestras enjoy doing them now. That's a change. 20 years ago, I think there was somewhat of a snobbery with orchestras towards film music, but that has changed because, frankly, the music has gotten so good, and we owe a lot of that to John Williams. But the music has just gotten so more sophisticated, and there's nothing wrong with playing for a packed house that's cheering you along. That's an exciting experience.
And not only that, and I'm so glad they've come along, because my argument for it, and by the way, we went to the RPO. I brought my son along 8 years ago. We saw a John Williams compilation, and during Jaws, they had a little remote-controlled car with the fin going around. And I thought to myself, you're opening the door to kids before they might be mature enough to love the Bach, love the Beethoven, and you're getting them into orchestral music. And of course, the next step is going to be the more sophisticated stuff. So why not?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've had the pleasure of going into schools, elementary schools, and talking about music for animation. And I will show them a clip with no music, and then play it with music, and then I'll play it with the wrong music. And it is amazing how 6-year-olds can respond to this. They can hear it, and just like you said, certainly we should all adore and idolize the music of Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms. But when you're young, this is a great way to start out. I mean, because now they're hearing the power and the influence and the beauty of music. And then they can, grow with that into, a more mature list of pieces.
It's no different than reading. Why would we expect it from music too? And it's not knocking the more childish books, because those can be absolutely brilliant. I mean, you look at the works of Silverstein there, or Dr. Seuss. All of that stuff is incredible. And then you graduate, let's say, to Sherlock Holmes, and then you're into The Count of Monte Cristo or whatnot. Why not? Exactly. I mean, it's accessible, and it's incredibly good too, as you noted.
A lot of my work when I was composing in film and television was for animation projects, and a lot of them were geared for children. And the care that goes into creating these projects and the awareness that they, the people that are behind the scenes that are thinking all along, is this appropriate? Is this going to be valuable? Are we going to be able to teach a lesson with this? These are people that specialize in this art form of creating, valuable entertainment for children. And I had to, focus on, okay, who's going to be watching this? What age is this age appropriate?
Yeah.
So
absolutely. So I want to talk about you here. You grew up just outside of Dallas in Irving, and then you ended up in LA for what, 45 years?
Yes.
Something to that effect. When did you discover your love of music?
Well, I grew up at a time when the Beatles were real popular.
I've heard
Probably
of them.
everybody my age is going to say the same thing. My mother bought my brother and I each guitars. It stuck with me. It didn't stick with my brother, and I suppose it was the one thing I could do better than him. He was very good in sports, and I gravitated to music. Then I picked up. I started playing saxophone when I got into junior high, and really focused on. I think I knew I wanted to be a musician when I was early as 14, because I just saw how much joy the people that were making it were having, that it was just fun.
Yeah.
I think that was what instilled in me. I thought I was going to be a band director, high school band director, but one week into student teaching, I realized that public school music teaching was not for me. I have great respect for the people that do it, but it was not for me. So I to make a long story short, just stumbled into taking a course on film scoring, and a bell went off. I just said, I've got to do this. This is what I
Wow. Was that in college? I'm guessing it must have
It was
been.
after college.
Oh,
I was in my
interesting.
mid-20s, actually, when I first started doing it.
No kidding.
Yeah, and it required. It took me a while before I took 9 years before I got my name on something. I was ghostwriting and orchestrating and saying yes to every stupid little non-paying gig that came along, because I wanted to get as much experience as I could, and really glad that I did, because I think if I had gotten the opportunity too soon, it would have been unpleasant. I would not have lasted. So everything kind of happens for a reason. So I was very fortunate to have those 9 years.
You know how often when I tell success stories, it happens like that. Even you take, like, in the music realm, Sting, for example. I just read his biography. He was an English teacher, and he gigged on the side for years, and he didn't make it big until he was like 28, 29, something like that. And he had the maturity to not get sucked into a lot of the stuff. And he had the world experience to write well. And, just that's the way I think.
He's a real artist. I had the pleasure of working with him on
Of course you did.
the Winter Olympics. He wrote the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City in 2002 were a few months after 9/11. And there's a moment in every opening ceremonies that is a symbol of peace. And this was very poignant considering what had just happened. So we used a song of Sting's called Fragile, that has a very poignant set of lyrics, and he did a new arrangement of it with Yo-Yo Ma that was done live, and it was very impressive with him. He came to the recording sessions because he wanted to work with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, so there was Sting with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. It was just so great, and he was having a ball. Good guy,
Yeah.
really nice guy.
Well, you helped me move into the next topic that I wanted to bring up, which is you have directed, I think that's the right word, 2 different Olympics.
I was the music director for 2.
Yeah.
The 1996 Centennial Olympic Games in Atlanta and the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City.
What an incredible honor.
Incredible.
How did you even land that?
Well, jobs come about for the strangest reason. Somebody's talking to somebody who mentions me, and I get a phone call. And I mean, the way it was the same producer who produced both of them. So I mean, I got the Winter Olympics because I had done the summer one with the same producer, but I got the Summer Olympics because they needed an arranger who was both capable of doing a music arrangement but could tell a story. And somebody happened to be talking to the producer at a party, and my name came up. And so I was asked to fly to Atlanta to just attend some creative meetings 1 year before the opening ceremonies. So there I was sitting around a table with all these amazing people, these art designers and choreographers and lighting people and sound people. And there I was sitting, and I guess I didn't know enough to keep my mouth shut. I kept blurting out ideas of what we should do and what about this and what about that. And they were impressed with that. And about 2 weeks later, I mean, I came home thinking, wow, what a great experience. I mean, I got to, have a little bit of involvement with the Olympics. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, I get a call asking if I'd want to be the music director. And I said,
Come on.
I was just blown away. And it not only involved having the opportunity to compose a lot of the music for the opening and closing ceremonies, but to work with the people like John Williams and, Sting and Jesse Norman and, all these amazing artists, and to get a peek inside their machinery and their creative process. So I was just a kid in a candy store for every single minute of it.
And you were on the world stage.
Yes. The
bigger than
event itself was like none other. We, they moved us to Atlanta. We lived there for 3 months, which was great fun, a great city and great people, and just had a ball.
Yeah. And did you ever see, a total aside, did you ever see that clip with Mr. Bean where he was part of the orchestra? If you haven't, I'll send it to you after.
It's brilliant.
It really is brilliant, and he ends up being the piano person, but can't stop sneezing, and he gets bored because he only has one note that he has to play. So highly recommend. I'll send it to you.
I'd love it.
So you won Emmys for that.
I did.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Did you go to any Emmys parties or anything like that?
Well, the Television Academy is the same as the Motion Picture Academy. It's made up of, we call them peer groups in the Television Academy. They're called branches in the Motion Picture Academy. But each discipline has its own peer group. And so each peer group does a Emmy reception. And then, of course, the Governor's Ball after the event is pretty spectacular. It's not your average, not your average party.
Yeah,
it's pretty high end, and somebody should do a documentary on that. How do you produce a full sit down dinner for 1,200 people with 2 orchestras and 9 bars going, and all the food comes out at exactly the same time, and it's perfect, and everything is done very precise. I mean, obviously the event coordinators that do those kind of events, but it would be a fascinating. At one time I peeked behind the curtain and saw all the ovens and all the prep going on. It was just fascinating. I found it amazing. Everybody in this business has, their skill set, their passion.
Yeah.
And they're as passionate about it as I am about music. And I suppose I served on the Board of Governors 3 terms representing the music peer group, and it was just great fun to meet with all these people, the costumers and the writers and performers and stunt people and directors that have the same passion about what they do as that I had for what I did.
Speaking of passion, in every craft you can work as hard as you want, but there has to be some intuition, writers might know how a line is going to fall to a listener's ear. When it comes to a score, and it's not just this note brings this emotion, do you just felt like that epiphany moment in your 20s when you were taking that class, do you just kind of know how something is going to land musically?
Well, you can. I mean, obviously, intuition, instincts are a big part of this. We have the technology now that allows us to make mock-ups or demos of the music that we're going to do, and we can bring either the director or the showrunner into the process, and we can play it for them ahead of time.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine how they did it, back in the so-called glory, the golden age, when a filmmaker would hear the score for the first time at the scoring session with a 90-piece orchestra playing it, and if they didn't like it, well, that was going to be a problem. So we can do that. I think, what I try to teach my students is this is a collaborative art. You may have strong opinions about what the music should be, but if the person who hired you has different opinions, you've got to be able to bend. And that's the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing I've ever done, is writing something that goes against my instinct. And, I can argue a point. I can say, I don't think this is the right way to do it. I think you should be doing it this way. But at the end of the day, you're hired to do what they want.
You got a job to do.
I use the analogy of you got hired to redecorate somebody's kitchen. You might say, I think the colors you've chosen are wrong. I think you should put the oven over here and not over there. At the end of the day, if they want it that way, then that's your job to make it happen. And, take the check and run.
There you go. There you go. J-O-B. I get it. Speaking of job, and we only have a couple minutes left, so I'm going to make a promise to you. I'm going to bring you back in next month because we could just literally talk for hours.
I would love it.
You ended up with the Beale Institute over at the Eastman School of Music. What has that been like? You've been there for almost 10 years.
It's been fabulous. I mean, I was at a point in my career where I was really wanting to give back. I've always enjoyed teaching. I would occasionally teach a course here or there, but never full time. This opportunity came about because a wonderful composer named Jeff Beale and his wife Joan, who had gone to Eastman, they made a very generous donation to the school, which started this curriculum. I knew Jeff. He had contacted me about whether or not I would be interested in doing it. One thing led to the other, and here I find myself in Rochester now going on my 9th year. And I just love it here. I love the school. It's an extraordinary environment, not only just the quality of the students and the faculty, but there's just an incredibly wholesome, supportive vibe at the school. Everybody is supportive of everybody, and that's very important to me. There's a real collaborative nature, and they have embraced this new curriculum that literally did not exist before I came here, and we're making advances all the time. We've become one of the most respected curriculums in the country in a very short amount of time. We attract really great students, so it's a really good thing.
Yeah, it is. It is, and thank you for being part of it. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for organizing Soundtracks. I'm really looking forward to that. And thank you as well for joining me for this interview.
It's been a real treat, Adam. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
All right. Yeah. So that's Mark Waters. Like I said, I'm going to have to bring him back in because I have like a billion more questions to ask. And we're going to have a great time when Soundtracks comes along. Maybe we get some of those big names in here, those big sounds, and talk to them. So some of the things that you will get with the Adam Interview series. So if you want to tell your friends about this, get them the Rochester First app. Tell them they can go on their smart TV, look it up. It's for free, all that. More good stuff like this. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everyone. We always appreciate your time and your commitment to learning more about the great things happening in our community, and there are many. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful evening and take care.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.